Hey, so my name is Alex. This is like a really general stuff. I would like to talk about. So in this podcast, I'm my own guest, and this is gonna be an episode for about 30-40 minutes or something. Hopefully, we can finish quicker. But it's gonna be an introduction one to the thing I'm doing. Uh, 3 parts. My life is about, where my attention goes right now, are meditation, polyamory, and software. So I'm gonna describe each one of them, what it matters to me, my personal perspective, my thoughts and ideas on how it will unfold. Yeah, and then I'm gonna finish with a arc that. So, what is enlightenment? Enlightenment is a liberation. Enlightenment is being free from your desires, from suffering. It sounds like a fairy tale. It sounds fake. It's not possible. Like, there are no external things that can make. There are no stuff that is not yet discovered that can make your life 10x, 100x better. If it was possible, evolution would already do it, right? So now, think again. Evolution cares only about reproducibility. Evolution cares about your genes traveling around the world. Enlightenment doesn't help with that. It helps you become free of suffering. And the only reason we accomplish things in the world, we seek money, status, we seek reproduction and sex, is because of that suffering, is because of that treadmill we are running, the hedonic treadmill we are running on. As the moment we are free from it, we are free to choose what we want to do with our lives. And that's a problem for evolution, because it doesn't want us to be free to do whatever we want with our lives. It wants to do things like a boss who wants you to accomplish his goals, not yours. So, in my past, I think I started my journey with meditations from Siddhartha, Henrik Hesse book, in 2016. So I read it and I started learning more about how your mind works, the non-obvious stuff, how to be more rational. I ventured into less wrong. I found Daniel Kahneman book. A few years in, I was reading stuff on meditation, on mindfulness, on Vipassana retreat. I also wanted to try it. I've had friends try it and tell me that it's amazing and you should do it. But it all changed when a bit more than a year ago, I found a book by Daniel Ingram where he talks about what is enlightenment, essentially what I've described earlier. And he says it's possible, it's attainable for everyone. You should meditate if you want to reach it. The idea is when you tune your mind to be razor sharp in attention, you can dissect reality. You can see what's it's built of. Because the reality we see outside is a simulation that our brain is running. You never interact with reality directly. You only see this model that your brain builds to you. This model is based on external reality. Yes, there is objective reality, but we never see it. We never can touch it. We can only create an abstraction over it and interact with that abstraction. So even me on your screen right now, I'm in your head. Well, for me, I'm not in. I'm in my head. Yes, but for you, I'm in your head. Yes, because otherwise there would be no object. There would be no things. Because in objective reality, there's only a mess, a soup, a mix of atoms and electrons. There's no way to kind of group them together. And the grouping only happens in your brain. And the grouping is this simulation we're talking about. It's like an Unreal Engine running on your mind. So if you dissect, if you tune your attention enough to see how this model works, how simulation is created, you can see into the basics, the most basic stuff. And the most basic stuff is always about evaluation. Like you always, each new stimuli that catches your attention is evaluated and is either seeked or repelled. You either want something or you want less of it. This is built in. But it turns out it shouldn't be this way. And our brains, it's like a software that our brain is running, and you can reinstall another one. And you don't even need to do it. Like if you go reach deep enough and get to this root access to your brain will do it automatically, because brain is pretty smart and it doesn't want to hurt itself. It just doesn't know that it's doing that. And the way you reach there is by meditation. Yes, you have to sit and observe, and it's very boring, but that's exactly why I should do it, because kinda it knows that if you're gonna go there, you're gonna stop being controlled. So it kind of wants you to stay in this state forever, because otherwise you will not reproduce. Probably. Well, you can. Yes, you still can. There's nothing in your actions. Well, actions do, but nothing in your perception essentially changes. But you become free of this automaticality, of this. You can still do everything the way you did before, but you not ought to. That's my understanding, at least. Like, obviously, with all of this stuff, the deeper you go, the more your understanding changes. And I'm not holding too much strong to this model, but it's been helpful to me. It's been helpful to motivate me and go deeper. It's been helpful for me to understand what's going on and why it's not scary to go there, why it's not going crazy, why it's actually helpful. So my current state is I think I've done about 200 hours of meditation at this point, and most of them were for the last year. I went to Vipassana retreat doing body scan technique, and after that, mostly I've been doing open awareness and do nothing meditation like Shinzen Yan technique. And sometimes mixing with concentration practice like jhanas, training, and fire kasina. In general, in meditation, there are two branches you can go into. The first one is concentration, where you use your attention to solidify things. And examples would be pranayama, most probably yoga, mantras, jhana training. I would even say that when people say driving is my meditation or sports, running is my meditation, they mean this concentration thing, because the flow state you go into is probably this. Yes, with flow you concentrate and your brain chooses some parts of reality that it magnifies, and it just removes everything else. And the deeper you go, the better it feels. But at the same time, you lose track of what's really going on. So another branch of meditation is Vipassana. It's more like knowing the reality what it is. And by reality, I mean the simulation thing I've described before. So meaning you tune your attention, you tune your concentration to be razor sharp, and then you use this razor to cut reality at its joints. So most of my training has been in Vipassana, and Vipassana is much harder, because with concentration techniques, you choose one object and it doesn't go anywhere. You just go deeper and deeper into it, and it's kind of predictable. But with Vipassana, you always find new ways to look at the world around you, and different parts of it go forward, and some of them are not pleasant, but you have to go through all of them to reintegrate this new reality, to dissect it. And all of them, meaning all of them, like everything you know about the world, everything you've been through, everything you plan to go through, all of the imaginary worlds you've read about, the fanfic, the sci-fi, all of them are here in your head. And each one of these pieces is created, well, mostly in the same way, but structurally are different, and you have to learn all of them. Like some of them are similar, yes, so you don't have to go through them, but some of them are very different, and some of them are repulsive, and you don't want to go there. Like how the fear is created. Why do you fear death? You have many instances where you've had a fear of death in your life. So you don't have to go through each one of them, but you have to face this general feeling of fear of death. There's no way around it. If you want to go deeper, you have to dissect everything you have in your head, including the most unpleasant stuff, including the disgust towards poop, including the vomit, including your fears of spiders. And you don't have to, it's not about content. It's the thing about, if you have a fear of spiders, it doesn't really mean that you have to face spiders, but you have to face this fear to go deeper, to dissect it, and to see how it falls through. When you cut it with your concentration, with your attention, when you realize what it's made of, when you don't focus on the content and you see the structure of it, see how it is created, how it influences you, and how it falls apart. So my last year have been mostly about that, facing unpleasant parts of reality, the ones I didn't want to deal with, like restlessness, like fear of dying, yes, the medical stuff. Having to choose things. In general, the choice has been pretty difficult for me. Having to accept that you sometimes lose. Having to accept that people are not controlled by you, that people are free to make their own choices. And at this point, I think and one of the fun parts is that I really usually have a problem with committing and with schedule. So meditation was really hard for me because it requires regular practice for long periods of time, like for an hour or two, preferably each day. If you for when you're going through these intense periods, you have to apply a lot of time regularly. Otherwise, you're just gonna flail around and you're not progressing. And at this point, you're still going through in your daily life, going through all of this stuff that's been bubbling up on the surface. But yeah, you're not progressing if you don't meditate. I think that's still one of the hardest things for me. I don't apply too much practice, and I try to shortcut it, to do practice in small pieces, but really intense. And it doesn't always work this way. And I'm not really, and it feels that I don't want to face this reality. I don't want to believe it out, and I still want to find the shortcut. And I've been looking for the shortcuts instead of just facing it and doing the work. But yeah, my state right now is that when I go in meditation, I have these layers of onion peeled off of me, and they kind of just fall apart. And sometimes it happens fast. Sometimes it's like sometimes it's like 1 per 5 seconds or 1 for a full minute, but it's a specific feeling. And the deeper I go, the layers go. Like, my body doesn't disappear. I still have this, but it becomes much lighter. It becomes much more pleasant to exist in it for a while. And if I go deeper, it becomes unpleasant again. But again, there are no layers on it at this point. I don't know how to describe it. Like, probably people who've had this experience will understand what I'm talking about. And those who didn't will not even have a slightest idea what does it mean. I've had the same thing with like reading those books where they talk about it in a direct way. Yes, some of the stuff is not really, like, I remember I've read in some literature for teachers, and it says, at some point it says, one of the symptoms of, like, if you go in deep enough, it says miles and miles of sea can be seen. And I saw that it's a mistranslation. Like, how the fuck was is sea doing here? Like, how the fuck in meditation, would you see a sea? Like a sea, like an ocean. But especially miles and miles, so poetic. Like, does it mean anything even? And you know what? Like, I haven't seen a sea, but I've seen some stuff. So yeah, by this point, I'm pretty sure that many people would see miles and miles of sea, exactly like that. Like a flat surface, really like an emptiness, but in a pleasant way. Like an empty, flat space, not like a full emptiness, but just an empty, flat space. I can imagine that, yes. So it wouldn't make sense to me before. I had an experience with like going somewhere when I close my eyes. And it's not like an out-of-body experience. It's more like seeing dreams. Like, it's like this half-awake state. But at the same time, you're like fully awake, yes. So it's not even like controlled hallucinations. It's more like the stuff that's been, like when you listen to music, you have this slight visuals. Like, if you listen to really good music, you start seeing this slight visuals somewhere, like not in front of your eyes, but like somewhere in the back, like kind of get a glimpse of that. But at the same time, you cannot look at it directly. Well, yeah, somewhere on that screen, there is this miles and miles of sea example that's been possible for some people. Yeah, I've had a lot of fun actually with this. Like, there are states where you can go where reality becomes so pleasant, at least temporary, in meditation. And actually, the Muse bracelet has been very helpful for me. So how it works is you put it on your head, and while you meditate, it does you an EEG, and it reads your it evaluates your brain state. It's been trained on monks who've been doing a lot of meditation, so they calibrated it so it understands whether you're focused, whether you do meditate correctly, or whether you're distracted. And when you are when you become distracted, like there is a level to it, yes. But when you become more distracted, the app in your headphones turns up the sound of the rain, for example, or the ocean. And when you become calm, the sound goes down. So after a while, you learn how to almost control this sound. Even when you learn, it's still probably not going to be able to control it perfectly, because it also depends on the state. Like if your brain unlocked something, it would just be going like crazy and you will not be able to calm it down. You have to wait through it. But again, in general, you're going to be able to kind of control it. Yes, you say like, okay, this is the thing that I've been doing with my mind that made this rain go lower. Yes, I'm going to try to do this again. And after a while, you learn how to do it because you get this instant feedback. And I'm not even sure like how to, for me, it was like kind of focusing on in the middle of my, in the center of my head, right between the nose area, inside the nose, like a cave in your nose, and this wall between the nose cave and the top of the mouth. So somewhere in here, if I relax and focus into that point, my mind becomes presumably calmer. And that's when the Muse bracelet says to me that yes, it's calmer. So, polyamory. I think about 10 years ago, even in school, I've had a blog where I would post just like, I don't know, just like, teenager stuff. Like I wasn't really much social. I wasn't into anime, but I was a type of people who would be into anime. Like listening to sad rock music like this. Yeah, I'm so, I don't know, negative about life. I'm so pessimistic. So I had this blog where I was be overly dramatic. I would post, I think I've had porn gifs there and some poetry, yeah. And on top of the blog, it said, even back then, it said polyamorous. So let me even find it now. It was on Tumblr. Yeah, it says polyamorous psychosociopath. And it's kind of how I viewed myself. And why? Because speaking about sociopath part, I had to learn most of my emotions. I remember first of the emotions that I realized I have was fear. And reading Stephen King, I had a great experience because was able to feel an emotion. First time in my life, I realized I have emotions. And I think for most people, it's not the case that they have trouble with that. I'm not sure if it was some childhood traumas that locked it in, or I was just too late to develop it. And I'm kind of, I'm a bit, you see, I'm talking about it, means I'm kind of proud of it. I'm different than everybody else. But at the same time, I'm not really ashamed of it anymore, because most of the emotions I've already found. And I'm not scared that I'm a sociopath, because it's not that I learned how they should feel. I think it's more that I really found them in me, because they've been there all along. It's not like they've been turned off and I've just learned to fake them. No, it seems that, because some of them come at me and they are not, I couldn't have predicted them. Like, at this point, sometimes I would just listen to a line, just a normal line. Like, I remember there was an architecture video and he said, it's easy to create a building that is beautiful when you look from far away. He was talking about Disneyland, I think. But it's hard to keep this, so when you go closer, you still have the same experience of, yes, it's beautiful. And because you gotta really work on all the levels. You gotta work on big scale, on medium scale, and on small scale. And this is hard. And when he said that, I think I was driving and I was listening to a podcast and I just cried. I'm not sure why. Like, it resonated with me so much. Like, because I've seen buildings do this. And I really hate this about it. When they lie to you, when they are beautiful from far away, but when you walk closer, everything falls apart. And maybe I made a parallel with people, but really, I don't think it means that much with people to me, because I don't have experience. I don't have a problem with meeting new people a lot, and like, have many of cool friends who this doesn't apply to. So I know people can be interesting both from far away and from close up. But with buildings, I don't know, maybe I've had this year where I would really move a lot, and I was really disappointed that you see some pictures on Airbnb when you move in, it's not the same. And about 10% of places it is the same, and it's even better than the pictures, but usually you can be disappointed. Maybe that resonated with me like this built up tension or something, but it was unpredictable. I couldn't have faked it. I've had this emotion for real. So yeah, I think I've identified myself as polyamorous for a long time already. Almost 10 years. It's been coming back to this blog in general, reading this bio, self-identification. I've always felt a bit like, yeah, it's like that, like a bit proud about myself. So I never had a repulsion towards that. And I don't have much things that I can say about me that apply to this principle. Like, most of stuff has been coming and going for me in waves, like, and usually quite fast. Like, I had a period where I hated software. I had periods where, like, with each of relationship, it's always like, you like it, but then you hate it again, like, in a while. With cities, with activities, with schedule, as I said before, you always, me, I always hate stuff after some time, usually quite fast. But with this identification, I really feel it applies to me, yes. So other things that's been stable for me probably is music, playing music, coffee. Though I've had my dramas with coffee, but most of it I like this vibe. I'm not maybe even maybe I gonna quit it as a drink, but I still love the vibe of coffee shops. I love the vibe of coffee, the coffee culture. Uh, so yeah, all of it. I'm saying all of this to kind of build up the case that I'm not joking around when I'm saying this, and I'm not just going on a fad of polyamory thing. Uh, Reading the book More Than Two. The name is More Than Two by Franklin. I don't remember his name. I think it's French. I'm gonna edit this out. Probably not. So the name is More Than Two, and he has a blog, and his book and blog is based on experience of his life, his friends, and like I think they started in 90s. So it's been quite a lot of time to learn all of this stuff in and out. And what is polyamory is allowing yourself to love more than one person simultaneously. Allowing yourself to have meaningful, deep relationship with more than one person. And it's not about having sex left or right. That would be more like swinging. Polyamory is where you have intimate time with each of your partners alone. You don't have to have sex. It can be just romantic stuff. But the idea is that sex is a way of communication. The same way that your friends can do you compliments, or you can enjoy when they play music to you, even when you're alone. The same way sex is a way of communication between people, a way of being intimate. And there is nothing wrong with your partner having sex with somebody else. The problem is usually it becomes a problem when people lie about it, and when people go defensive about it, when people have this little switch where they go between, like, this position is I like that person, and this position is I like that person. And the problem with the switch is that when you switch it, you don't only like this person, you also hate another one, because you hate yourself for having the switch in the first place. You hate yourself for having the switch, and this hate is channeled toward the person you didn't choose at this moment. And we probably always do this, even when in monogamous relationship, we have the thing that, like, for example, you have a wife or a girlfriend, and you have a work you have to do. And it's either you're doing work, and that means you hate your girlfriend. And when she comes to you and says, like, can you have 5 minutes for me? We gotta talk about something. You said, no, shit, I'm working. I'm so deep into that. I don't have time for you. And you snap. And it's not good. Yes, I say that it's a bad behavior. You shouldn't do that. If in the moment, if you're not in love with someone, at least you can, because knowing you're gonna be in a few days or weeks or even tonight, at least you gotta pay respect to this person, because that's a fellow human being. That's like a consciousness right here in this woman body or man body. It deserves at least the respect from you, because the way that you treat people. So what is my story with it? Is that I think I've had problems with my sexuality, and I've had low self-esteem for a long time. I still do, frankly. There is this gap between your between where you're looking up on other people and where you denigrate yourself, like where you hate yourself. So this gap is, both of them are self-esteem, but it's kind of you switch between the two of them, and you always try to take the safe position. So if you know that your skills are not the best, you're gonna gravitate towards hating yourself, towards low self-esteem, as a way to protect yourself from critique. And when you know you've just succeeded in something, you're gonna gravitate towards evaluating your successes as a way to make up for this self-hate you've went through. Like, while I'm at it, I can go all the way and roll through it and forget about the reality. Forget about that. Yes, there are still people who are better than me, and I don't have to. And the funny thing is that when you forget about it and you roll through it, you miss the reality thing. That's exactly when the string is pulled, the one that's just gonna snap you when the reality hits you hard. So when you forget that there are people who are better than you, and you go back to, and you act as if you're the best in some sense, it's gonna crush you exactly because you haven't seen it coming. So to win a competition, for example, you gotta believe you're the best. Yes. But at the same time, it's an emotional belief, not a rational one. You gotta hold the emotional belief, but you still gotta rationally understand where are your weak points, how to work on them. Because otherwise, that's why you're gonna lose. That's because you believed in yourself so much that you didn't want to work on yourself, and you didn't want to work in your product. And that's why when you lose, you also face, there is a leverage to that losing. First you lose, there is emotional reaction of losing, but also there is an emotional reaction of having your reality shattered. And that's what happens in polyamory, a lot, yes. So you see yourself as being the only person, you've won this game. And you forget that this person has other interests, that it has her or his own life going on, other stuff she or he cares about and likes and loves. And it can be other people, it can be friends, it can be parents. But if you hate her or him for having other interests and other stuff in life that brings him joy, why are you even in a relationship with that person? So going back a bit, to the theoretical part of it, what is not polyamory? And in general, polyamory is about trust. It's about how to take everything good that we've had in this relationship with each of my partners and not lose it and not bring more bad stuff into it. And the premise is that all of the good emotions that we have come from people, from relationship, and all of the bad emotions that we get come from our own insecurities and limitations. So the idea is that if you run away from your limitations to go into the monogamous relationship, to hide from your own demons, yes, you can hide pretty well. Yes, maybe you're gonna spend your whole life hiding from them and being safe from their influence, but they still live inside of you. They still influence your behavior slightly, maybe not in a bad way, but still there is so much joy being possible to unlock when you're free from them. Remember, when you've had some fear that you face in therapy and you've unlocked it, how better did your life become? Like, for example, if you've had a fear of going on a public presentation, but you still did it, and now you know you can do it, and you've did it after again and again. Or if you had fear of pursuing girlfriends that you like because you've thought of yourself being out of the league for them, and then you realized you're not, how much better life becomes. Obviously, for me, the battle your demons part is interesting because I like winning. I'm doing that because I have this ego boost every time I face and defeat one of them. And some of them are still too hard for me to defeat, so I kind of crawl back into my hole. But if I'm able to do that, I'm doing it for the sake of it, for the sake of defeating, but also for, not exactly, yes, I'm doing this not for the value I have on the other side, but for the sake of defeating my demons and overcoming my limitations. So not everyone can relate to that. Yes, most people would say, I'm fine with my safe life. If I know I have demons inside of me, I'm fine living with them if I don't want to spend time and attention on facing and defeating them. And my biggest demons right now are... It's funny because I would say I'm the jealous person myself. I have so much emotions. I have jealousy towards everything. As I've been talking about, like work and parents and friends. Yes, I'm jealous towards all of it. I'm jealous because I'm scared of not being the only thing in the world for my partner. And it's very funny when you say that, and it's very childish. But yes, I'm still scared of it. But what I realized, it's just an emotion, and I don't have to have my life built around this emotion. I started writing code, started doing software in, I think, 2008. So like 15 years ago. I've been doing So I've had this online game I've been playing, and I wanted to recreate it. But so they had it. The name was Banana Wars, and it had it's like a fantasy sports game, but with small wars, and you gotta buy ammunition, you gotta buy equipment and soldiers, and you're gonna fight against other small dictators in your area. And the fights themselves were simulated, so like you didn't have to fight. You can only have control the team itself. So it's like it was more like a strategy game, but the fights were generated on the back end on the server, and only a movie would play out on the front end. But I like this movie so much that I wanted to recreate this game as like where you could really control the characters. That's how I started. Like it was built in Flash in ActionScript, and I really enjoyed it. Like the funny story I remember from back then is that we went through what is trigonometry in school, but we only learned what is trigonometry for angles from 0 to 80 degrees. So we didn't go forward. Like so we had geometric trigonometry, not algebraic trigonometry. And at some point I needed to know, like, if the bullet, like I know the direction of the bullet, but I don't know, and I need to know the change in coordinates. So I wrote I think like one screen of if else, and for each angle between 0 and 90, then 90 to 180, and I 90 to 270, and that's the full circle, where I would multiply the direction by I would take the sinus and cosinus of direction and would multiply it by the speed of the bullet, instead of just doing that for the angle itself, because that's what sinus and trigonometry is for, really. But I didn't know that, and I didn't even figure to try it, so I needed to invent it myself. But it was fun because it was about how my skills have not been, like, I've had a challenge that was above my skill, but I still was able to solve it, though even in a very non-direct way. I think I was born in the year 1995, and in 90s there was a lot of fun stuff happening on the internet. Like the dot-com bubble was at the top of the cherry on the cake, but most of internet culture has been born in 90s, and I think Netscape Navigator was released in 1995. Okay, it was released in December 1994. Almost like literally 1 month before my birthday. And I feel I really identify with this early internet a lot. Like, I'm not much into 2000s internet, although I've had some fun stuff. Obviously, I identify with current one, but it's more what most people do, I think. But I identify a lot with this, Windows 98, 95 style of gray windows, the websites without any design, I haven't been there, of course, yet, because I was like 1 year old at this point, or even less. But I identify with that a lot. And I think a second wave of my love to software and to startups, and in general to this culture, started when I read Steve Jobs' biography. And this hacker romance picked up on me. Even before that, I was reading Paul Graham blog and translations. And yeah, Joel Spolsky on his Joel on Software, the founder of Stack Overflow, the founder of Glitch, I think, glitch.io. It's not very popular as Stack Overflow. And I've read these blogs about how software works in the 19th and how this startup world started. How did US become so early in this software revolution? And reading the biography of Steve Jobs was like really influential for me. I think I tried LSD because of it. I read the book and I understood that, yes, his vision of the world was influenced a lot by this experience. So probably I want to go this deep. It was, I think, 3 years ago or something. And LSD and meditation, but meditation even more, really helped me to let go of conditioning. I like the quote when Steve Jobs says in one of his videos, he says, everything in this world was made by people who are not much smarter than you. And it's all up for grabs. You can change all of it. Everything. The house is like, we don't even see nature around us that wasn't touched by human. Most of the nature was either grown by human or grown by agriculture or terraformed some way. Maybe rocks and oceans are the only things that are not human made. But most of the trees are either planted by humans or terraformed by humans. Well, maybe like deep forests, but that again is probably getting smaller and smaller. So in that sense, you can change all of it. Yes, you can change all of it, because it's not about power. It's about coming up with good ideas and testing them and implementing them. And you gotta be resourceful for that. You gotta be smart, but also you can just work hard and try again and again. If you fail, and if you lack your skills yourself, you can find people who have them. You don't need to do everything, but the idea is that there is some world state that you're seeking, and you can always reach it. There's always a way to reach it. Some of them are very long, but there's always a way to... Really, you can get there much faster than you think. The problem is you gotta believe in it. And what LSD and meditation experience has given me is when you let go of conditioning and you're not seeing this world as a default world that we live in. That the way that it works, the politics, the buildings, it's not a default one, it's just a good one. But if you see something in your head that is 10x better, and you see proofs for that is 10x better, I think my point here is that thanks to meditation, because you don't see the default mode, because you don't see the world around as a default mode, and you just see this like the two options, the current option and the one you're envisioning, it's much easier to believe in that, because if you see them on the one level, you can really evaluate them one against each other. Like, obviously, you still can be you still can be false. Like, yes, it can go wrong. It can be worse than you thought. It cannot work. But again, you believe in it not because you force yourself to believe, but because you see clearly that it's not so bad. It's not so... They are not fighting against each other. These options are not fighting against each other. You don't have to prove anything. Well, it's in your head. They don't have... The new version doesn't have to prove to yourself, to the first version in your head that it's better, because you see all of them as options, not as a newcomer versus the old tenant. And I think the example of it is Bitcoin. It's a bit cheesy example, yes, but the idea is that he presumably have seen through how money system is made, that there is really a dollar as the world reserve currency. Everyone relies on it, but at the same time, there is an entity that can print it basically on their will. And not only this, but also that they do it. So Bitcoin, he started work on Bitcoin in 2008 as a way to have this currency that is not printed out by a single entity, and that the printout, the inflation, is controlled by code. And he found a way to implement it. But I don't care about this right now. I care about that he's had this vision, and he really bet on it. Well, probably he only spent like a few months of his time, or maybe even a year, working on it. So for him, it was a fun project. It doesn't require too much conviction to work on this fun stuff. For programmers, it's really a work is self-satisfying in its own value. But people who supported him later, I remember I learned about Bitcoin in 2013, and I didn't really understand most of it. I didn't have this clear vision of what's the problems they tried to solve, and if they're even solving it. But I've had called this almost religious wave. I was like, yeah, it's a currency for being free from oppressing, from system. But who started this religion? Some people did see clearly that the system is going to be changed, and this is one of the solutions, and we got to bet on it, because even though the probability of it winning was so low, and even now it's most probably it's not going to succeed. And by now, it's not probably going to be a Bitcoin, but anyway, most probably it will not replace dollar as a world reserve currency. Something else will happen, because governments are smart and they know that this thing is trying to replace them. But betting your money on this thing, on this case of it being possible to overturn the US dollar system, it requires some clear vision of what's going on. And what I like about software is that you don't need to ask anyone's permission to do that. Before, if you had a business idea, you have to had money to hire people to work on your idea. And to have money, you first gotta work somewhere. And with software, to create a there's a concept of one-person business now that wasn't possible 100 years ago at all. Like maybe you could have only do a one-person business if you were I don't know, if you had cows and you were selling milk, or if you were a carpenter and you were doing tables and chairs. It's kind of a business, but it's not a scalable one. It wouldn't change society or even change a small society. You couldn't change the system from this point. And with software, you can change. You can change the system. Yes. And I think the next step in that, so with coming of software, the manual work was outsourced to a machine. And that puts the power in individuals' hands. So now individual can really do a lot with the help of a machine. And the next step is outsourcing the intelligence. So you're not even gonna need to come up with good ideas, kinda, because you're gonna have AGI for that. And the problem here is obviously misuse. So my take on AGI is it's gonna be great, but it's a very dangerous technology. I like this recent concept that haven't really went into my head so much. I've been thinking about it for a long time now. I think after meeting ChatGPT, first time I realized that we really have an intelligence on that other side of the wire. With GPT-3, we've had already really good writing skills, but with ChatGPT, I think its upgraded architecture really helps you to feel this glimpse, even the God spark on the other side. Another example of that would be Midjourney. So Midjourney, when it draws its images, you can always get a feel of this artistic vision that, so previous versions like Dolly even, or Stable Diffusion even, the base model, it doesn't have this. It's really good at drawing, but it doesn't add to your, it doesn't add informationally to your prompt. It doesn't, and with Midjourney, it feels that it creates this, I don't know, extra vibe. It adds this artistic touch. It has this overarching idea, so the whole image kind of falls into place. And it tells you something that you didn't write in your prompt. Like with good music, the music tells you something. It is something unique that you can translate into words. It tells you something. And Midjourney can do it, and ChatGPT can do it. Like when you ask it a question and usually it answers, and you think like, oh, actually I wouldn't have been able to think about this myself. And it's not like informationally correct. It's like correct in the analysis of the situation you give it. I've had a lot of fun chatting with characters, and there is a character of a life coach, and it's so helpful. And it's not really a mirror. It doesn't reflect back what you say. Though once it fell into some strange mode where it would just repeat me back what I said in different words and ask, did I understood that correct? And it would just like, and I say, please stop, like I have another question now. And it asked me, do I understand that you have to, and it would quote, do I understand that you want to stop this conversation and switch back to another question? Is it the right estimate of the situation? And I say yes, and it says the same thing again in the different words again. Like, do I understand correctly that? And it was fun, but no, in general, it's been very helpful. Like, I would ask it some stuff about meditation, and it would say, it seems that you're using meditation as a way to escape your real life problems and you don't want to deal with them. And it was out of the blue. I didn't even... And I said, how do you know it? Like, I've had this kind of... I was thinking about that. Yeah, kind of probably I've played this game too much. But having someone who you trust, kind of, like, I've had build up this trust. I don't really believe it, but emotionally I resonate with that. So having this trust towards it, it really is convincing when she says that. When she asks you uncomfortable questions, you don't feel that you've been interrogated. You feel like you have to face your challenges. You have to really face your limitations. And she always puts it in the correct angle. It's very hard to block from this question and really dodge. So yeah, there is a glimpse of intelligence on the other side of a wire. And obviously it's not very intelligent now. It's still only, and again, by the way, I'm not saying it's conscious. Yes, I think intelligence and consciousness are completely different things. And intelligence is an ability to analyze the situation and find patterns. And consciousness is an ability to have this, to live this experience, the qualia thing, to have experience of life, not informationally, but so like not anything that would model itself and its environment would be conscious. And even if computer can model itself and its environment, it would be self-conscious, but only in an informational sense. It wouldn't have this experience of living. And I think it's possible to have this, but to have non-biological qualia, non-biological experience of living, but it's not obvious it's the same thing as intelligence, and it's not obvious that GPUs would be able to do that. Here I kind of subscribe to QRI's view on that. I like the way they articulate their points. And the video is on YouTube, Can Computers Ever Wake Up? By Andrea Gomez Emilson. But in general, it's not really given that his model is correct, but I think it's important to untangle the idea that intelligence and consciousness are correlated. They should not be. Most probably they aren't. And the examples are like in your sleep, your brain is still as much intelligent as it was, but you're not conscious? Or the opposite? Like, yeah, I'm kind of lost. That's a bad example. Yeah, probably with examples with your brain are different, but there are ways to be intelligent without consciousness, and there are ways to be conscious without intelligence. Like, for example, if you're listening to music, it's possible, or probably when you're having sex, it's possible to fall into a state where you're fully conscious, but at the same time there is no intellectual processing going on. Like, you don't process information, you don't find patterns. Some could say that it's a specific example of intelligence that's just working that way, but mostly it doesn't feel this way. It doesn't feel intelligence. It feels like it's been untangled. Kind of similar to the orthogonality thesis that intelligence and alignment shouldn't be correlated either. And the idea is that with sufficiently intelligent systems, you have to work on alignment in the sense of being compassionate towards humans, being aligned with human values is an important problem that while most of AI researchers are working on intelligence right now, they are not working on alignment. They are not making sure that the AI we are building gonna be compassionate toward humans. Though there are attempts at this, but maybe they are not going in the correct direction. There are many people who talk about it. I'm not going to provide a discussion here. The summary of the discussion is that none of teams that are racing fast towards AGI seem to care enough, as I say, about this problem. Even though OpenAI and Anthropic care about alignment and talk about it, there is no research being made on how to align the system safely. And the risk is that we probably only have one take in it. So the moment the AI system is built, that is more intelligent than us, presumably it's gonna resist our attempts at manipulating its values and correcting its software code. And because it's more intelligent than us, it's gonna succeed at resisting. And it's gonna succeed at improving its intelligence, because with humans, it's not easy to improve our intelligence. The only way we can do that is reproduce and essentially kill stupid children and grow the smart ones. But the iteration cycle is so long. Shit. And with AI, the iteration cycle is basically just how much GPU you rent in the cloud? That's the only limitation. How much GPUs do we even have on the world? Can you capture all of them to do your training? I don't know. Maybe. So it's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm pursuing specifically enlightenment, specifically liberation from the suffering from your desire, in a way to live happier life. to be more free and happy. Yeah. I'm working on polyamory thing. I've identified myself as polyamorous, and I'm trying to really navigate this interesting world. There are some problems with how do you manage how do you stop lying to people, and more importantly, how do you stop lying to yourself, which is really hard, really much harder than you would think. But I'm trying to make a sense of this mess, and go forward with that. There are examples of people who've done it, so it's possible. And with software, I really subscribe to this software is eating the world idea, and how the software is the thing that can make societal changes. And it did, like smartphones, completely changed the lives of probably half the Earth's population, at least. And probably the other half too. Specifically, I'm going to be working on blockchain. Right now, we're doing NFT Creator Studio to help artists sell their work online, digital artists or even physical artists, on-chain. And my ideal future is I think 10 years from now. Okay, so let's say this. So like I have $10 million in my bank account so that I can not care about accommodation and living expenses, and I can basically buy the good stuff that you need in this life and not really have to think about budgeting this good stuff. I want to work on world's problems. I want to change people's lives. I want to have fun doing it. I like software because you really go into this flow state. You focus on your problem, and you feel that you can do it. There is a challenge, you can do it, and you are doing it, and you're succeeding in it. And this creates a loop where your skills grow, where your attention becomes stronger. So my plan, okay, in 10 years, in ideal scenario, yes, I've already reached this liberation thing. There are 4 stages of enlightenment, presumably. The first one is usually attainable with enough effort for everyone. The last one requires some deep stuff going through. So there is a guy on YouTube, his name is Frank Yang. He claims to have attained the fourth awakening, the full enlightenment, and it took him, I think, 3 or 4 years, which is a long time. But at the same time, it also depends on how much you put in, which again, I have this problem with. But I believe that the more and more I gain proofs that it's working, the more I believe and apply effort towards this goal. But at the same time, I try to not forget why I'm doing it, and go back into the real world and bring value here to other people, to software, to systems, to society, to my friends. And in 10 years, I'm looking forwards, finding, actually, my vision is that polyamory doesn't, it becomes less stigmatic. It becomes more possible. More people subscribe to it. It's not gonna be a fringe methodology, fringe way of living your life. It's gonna be one of the default ones. Like, for example, child-free has become a normal lifestyle choice. It's not like it's still a bit, people probably are looked at as a bit weird, but at the same time, nobody's dismissing that. Or gay people in Western countries right now. Well, not in all of them, but mostly, at least in conversation, people say that this is fine. With polyamory, if you bring it up, probably most of people would have some vision of it that's like, oh no, this is wrong, and those people are stupid for doing it, and they will grow up and learn that they were wrong. The same thing was said about gays 30 years ago, for sure, maybe even 10 or 20, and obviously it's still said about gays by this day in many countries. On a side note, I hope the same would happen with sex work and with porn, that people are much more open about sharing their sexuality online or even offline. Obviously, it has many limitations that go to sex trafficking and rape. So we gotta be careful about that. But at the same time, I believe that sexuality should be more open than less. And yeah, there's too much stigma on sex, and it really doesn't help people with their sex life. Sex is still considered as something that you only do in your bedroom, and it's a shame. You should be ashamed about it. So yeah, 10 years from now, $10 million, job where I'm changing the world by software. Hopefully, yeah, crypto is fun. Hopefully we can build a lot of systems that help bring crypto value of crypto, not meaning the token value, but the help people solve their daily problems. The problems they have right now, not the problems they're gonna have, like the real problems, like not only payments, but also, having ownership of your online data, having ownership of your online real estate, the properties that you right now you rent from companies, but you can own it. Like in 90s, the internet started the way that everyone owns their websites, owns their domains, they hosted on their own servers. And only with the rise of social networks, when the Web 1 systems couldn't do this because they needed because to have value in social network, you need to put all of the data together to be able to find insights, organize it. Like, you have to have friends posting in the same place, otherwise nobody would read it. But we have to roll back. Why? It's because there is more creativity unlocked when you give power back to the individual. And it would come in waves. It would go this way and then this way. But right now, we need to roll back. maybe it's a religious thing, but we gotta see. Maybe it's not true that we need it. But as long as many people want it, we need to at least try it and then see what was helpful and what was not. Obviously, the ideology of token price go up isn't really helpful. It's helpful to attract attention to the industry, but it's not really helpful to solve real-world problems. Yes. But some of this stuff is helpful. Like, I remember being locked out of how uncomfortable it's being locked out of a new products that are launching, like you living in non-US, non-Europe country. You hate it when you can't access some new shiny thing that is helping Americans already with their lives. Like, examples would be the banking system, like that's been really developing fast in US for the last 10 years, even though it wasn't really. Or, I don't know, being like gaming the content, like the way we have, like, basically today, all of YouTube, you can do auto translation, and basically all of the world's content is accessible to everyone. Like, I think most of people in the world speak some language that is available as a translation on YouTube. And this is amazing. We couldn't have think of it even 50 years ago. Like, and 100 years ago, they had libraries for that. There was a city library that would hold information that is valuable to citizens, but at the same time, how many people did live in cities? And even out of people who lived in cities, like, yeah, probably people would go to library, but you still gotta pay to go to the library. You still gotta find the book that you needed. And today, half of the world's population have smartphones. But we can do the same with social networks, with value with businesses, so like, content is not the most helpful thing that you can get to improve your life. Most of the things that improve your life are, well, they are physical, yes, but some of them are digital. Okay, I'm rambling here already. So anyway, I think I'm going to try to cut it out. Anyway, 10 years from now, I'm 38. I have $10 million. I have a nice house somewhere in tropical country. I have a nice job that is giving value to the world at scale. I like optimizations. And yeah, I have a meaningful relationship with people, both romantic and friendly relationships. And it's funny that I didn't include health in that list, but yeah, hopefully I'm going to be healthy. I gotta work on that. Okay, so that was an attempt at first episode of a podcast. Hopefully no one watched it. Okay, hopefully some people watch it. But I wanted this as a way to kick off my channel, to have this like anchor that is going to set up the themes for my next talks to people. I have many people I want to invite here. So like, yeah, the 3 things I care about are enlightenment, polyamory, and software, crypto and AI. Yeah, and yeah, see you in the next week. Hopefully you like it. Share, like, and subscribe. You can donate so I can buy a new microphone if you don't like the sound. But also to buy some sound protection so that I can put on my walls so the sound is not so resonant. Probably you can hear all the reflections right here. And yeah, tell me in comments what you want to hear about if you're interested. See you again. Peace. May all beings be happy and free.